I'm Chandra Allen. I work for the Weston Home Foundation as the program director. My journey starts in my family of origin. Both my dad and my aunt, two people who've had a large influence in my life, were social workers. And so I saw from an early age just a caring for people, a desire to give back. I remember coming home in elementary school and I didn't have a bed because my dad had given it to a client. So just that sort of we care for one another has always been instilled in me, and I think that became more personalized when I was in high school. I'm a native Nashvilleian. I had a chance to be part of an organization called Nashville Youth Pulse, and it was sort of a youth version of Hands on Nashville, where the organization, it was under Oasis Center, encouraged young people to get involved in their communities, to volunteer, hopefully to encourage a lifelong desire to be an active member in your community. And for me, that's definitely been the case. And I would say for where I am right now at the Weston Home Foundation, really was just a lucky opportunity. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, but I had a colleague let me know the position was available and she thought I might be a good fit. So when I started to do the research about the organization, about philanthropy in general, it did seem like a good fit. I'm really grateful it worked out and that I've been able to work with the foundation for the last few years. I think a core part of who I am, or I know a core part of who I am, is I'm a person of faith, and that guides everything that I try to do and be in the world. Sort of the tenets of loving your neighbor, justice, mercy, radical hospitality, forgiveness. Those are all things that I grew up learning about in the church. They're easy to say, but really hard to live out, I think, because it pushes against our sort of natural tendencies and creature comforts. But for me, it's worth striving to live that out as best I can. I fail at it a lot. Sometimes I succeed, but those are the things that are really at the core of what's important to me and the way that I try to guide and live my life. I would say be open to opportunity and be flexible. I'm a person that really likes to be prepared, to know what to expect, maybe control things a little bit, but the things that I feel have really shaped my life the most have been the opportunities that I didn't expect. The position at the Weston Home Foundation being one of them, but I could name a lot. So I would say be open, be flexible, and I guess the other piece that's been really important for me is to know who you are and know what your values are. Know where you're willing to compromise and know where your firm boundaries are. And I think that helps you sort of evaluate opportunities, evaluate what might be the best next step. So I would say those two things: be flexible and open to new opportunities, but also know who you are, know what your values are. I think one of the things that's most important to me is to instill in our children and in our family culture that being part of a community means being active in that community and giving back. And so that looks like several different things. That looks like volunteering with my daughters at different nonprofits in the community. It's trying our best to see the dignity and the worth and value of everyone in our community. Again, going back to some of those core principles that I grew up with in my faith tradition of loving your neighbor, justice, mercy, and really figuring out how do we live that out, having conversations in our family, participating in group projects or individual projects. Those are the things that feel really important to me, living that out in my life, but in my work. I really try my best to be a good partner, to be a good listener, and be collaborative. Those are the ways that I see myself being a good community member, and that's one of the things that's important to me. I will go back to sort of my childhood and my upbringing in the church, and in particular the Black church. It was a place of belonging and being seen and just an incredible amount of support. And I say that knowing that the church, the Black church, isn't perfect, and there's a lot that needs to be reconsidered, rethought, and a lot of practices that aren't done well. But my experience has been, such a genuine place to have community and have support throughout my life. I think about different junctures where I've needed either financial support or emotional support, and I've been able to find that in the church. But as a whole, I remember our community making sure that members had meals to eat, that kids had things they needed for back to school, backpacks and shoes. It's coming around someone when they've lost a family member or experienced a tragedy. I think that has been some of the most beautiful ways of being community that I've experienced in my life. I think for me, one of the most important things is to start by listening to the communities that you are serving or that are working towards the issues that your foundation is working towards, to lift up the work that is already happening in the community. I see our community partners, the leaders of our nonprofits, frontline workers as the experts, and then leaning into that. And then where we can, to bring our resources and our voice to amplify that work, to bring people together to collaborate. I think ultimately we all want to see systems change, to see our communities and our neighbors that everybody has what they need to thrive. And I think being a game changer is figuring out what those levers might be. And many of those I think have already been identified at the community level. So it's figuring out how to scale that, how to invest in that, and really try to invest in, help support lasting systemic change. I would say don't be afraid to take a step into that role, that you don't have to know everything to get started, that if you are willing to listen and learn, that will take you a long way. And that also the Nashville community in general, and then the philanthropic community in particular, is very generous to find your people. I've been so grateful to have so many colleagues throughout Middle Tennessee at various foundations who I can call on. I've never reached out to a colleague and not gotten a response. And so I would just say, don't be afraid to take that step. Lean into what you're passionate about and where your gifts are, and help those support the work that you're doing. And don't be afraid to ask questions, and ultimately listen. Listen to the community, listen to your colleagues, listen to yourself. I've been working in philanthropy for about 4 years now, and so I feel still relatively new to the space, but I have learned a lot as well. And I think over the time that I have been working for the Weston Home Foundation, I've seen some shifts in philanthropy, really moving towards unrestricted gifts, multi-year funding, really emphasizing relationship with our community partners that's less transactional and really more about community building, listening, and learning. So I really am eager to see those parts of philanthropy continue to grow and develop. And also I've seen my colleagues really start to lean into advocacy, and that's something that we at the Weston Home Foundation are also trying to lean into. And I'm excited to see what that might look like in amplifying the work that's already happening around systems change, but also identifying new levers or places of action to change systems. Again, I think that there's so many wonderful and thoughtful and wise leaders in our community, both in nonprofits and in the philanthropic sector, that as they come together to really figure out how to collaborate in new ways or scale what's already working, that we really hopefully will start to see some things shifting in our community.